What's up, guys? Let's play some more Run 8. We're continuing once again with our hottest of hot piggyback trains, or intermodal, whatever you want to call it. We're running down the Fitz on the Q121 Chicago to Jacksonville service back in, I guess, 2002, 2003. We're just now south of Upton. That's where we left off with the last video. We went through Upton, or actually Douglas, and we're coming by this intermediate here. This is going to be trailer park. Okay. All right, so yeah, next siding is going to be Saginaw, then Sessoms, then Bowling, and then Waycross. I'd like to try to make it to Waycross today if we can. I think that won't be a problem whatsoever. At least get maybe south of Waycross to the 70 mile an hour running, and then we'll be good to go for the next video. We don't have that many left. Like, we've got probably this one, and then we'll make our run to Jacksonville. And then we'll probably do our final video. Will be like yarding the train at Moncrief, like doing the grand tour that we talked about in the first video, where we drop our Tallyrans and FECs off at Moncrief, and then go around to Duval, the ramp from the south. So, and then we cut our power off and we take it all the way back to Moncrief. So it should be pretty cool. I'm looking forward to it. Kind of sad it's winding down, right? Because it has been a ton of fun. I've really enjoyed it. All right, let's get this bad boy going. So we had a clear back there at trailer park. So CSX Q12115's got a clear trailer park. 1923 south out. I did talk to Otto. Otto is up and running. We don't have any more meets to make. We've got a clear shot into Waycross at the moment. There is something I think there is something northbound into Waycross, but right now, as it stands, we don't have anything to meet. We do need to call up Otto again before we hit up the north end of Saginaw to get a light. At least I think. We'll see how it plays out. And we've got 60 mile an hour running, so we need to get on it, guys. We need to get on it and get all these MPHs we can while we go by Clyde Kirkland Road. So one of the greatest things about this the southeast routes is that they do have all the road crossings named and stuff. So it just gives you a little bit of an idea of like where you're at, right? I'm gonna set some cross ties out there. I wonder if they get ready to do a little tie replacement project down here. There's some moo cows out there. Nice little farm. I gotta figure out what my next trip's gonna be after this. I kind of want to do some work in Waycross and Rice Yard. Maybe do a hump job. I don't think I've ever done a video working the hump job. So that may be a good video to do one day. Like, just do it like we're just doing the hump job, right? Getting your power, taking it down to the receiving yard, grabbing your cut, having it bled and ready to go, and then shoving it over the hump. We'll see. I know we've done the trim jobs before. Trim job, pull down job, whatever you want to call it. There's tons of different names for it. That old code line falling over there in the bushes. All right, we do have an approach. CSX Q12115's got an approach distant Saginaw, 9023 south out. We'll start slowing up a little bit here. We'll honor the approach. We know we're going to get another light here in a second. All right, Saginaw is going to be a signal siding. That's why we got the double head distant. Let's just grab a little air. We're going to observe this just like the real deal. Call up the dispatcher. We'll say, hey, dispatchers, Q121, we got approach on the distant to Saginaw. What you got for us? You'd be like, I just don't have you lying through yet. Maybe we'll see what he says. I think that's for that crossing there, or I mean that bridge, which wasn't a thing. None of our bridges were marked with whistle post. That wasn't a thing at all. There, let her slow down. Yeah, he said, Otto said proceed on signal indication. Well, like I said, we're treating it like real life. So if the dispatcher said proceed on signal indication, we'd have to go around there looking out. You will never say, yeah, I got you clear on the north end of Saginaw, because he doesn't know. What his board says and what you get could be two completely different things. So we'll ease around there looking out. I try to stop these I try to stop these at a control point. That way the next time I talk to Otto, we'll just be good to go, but I didn't. Evidently, I didn't do it this time. And make sure our record is looking good there. OBS seems to be, knock on wood, seems to be straightened out now. I hope so. There we go. We're down to 30 now for our approach. Kind of sucks. It's killing our 60-mile-an-hour running. Yeah, so far it's been a good train. It's been a really enjoyable trip, and it's been kind of an exciting trip. Honestly, like, we got caught by the DD, we had a signal drop on us, we've had some meets, like, there's been a lot of stuff going on with this trip. It hasn't been, like, completely chill, right? Like, we've had some stuff going on. Here goes our DD. There we go, nice. Didn't want to get popped again. Last time we got dragging equipment. While I was telling you a story about getting popped by that exact same DD for dragging equipment on the military trains. Military trains is notorious for getting dragging equipment because there's so much stuff chained out, right? Like, there's tons of chains on those trains. And got our light. Can we see it up here? Can we see it? Yes, we can, and we do have clear. Nice. All right, let's get on it. Let's get on it, boys. Let's get out of here. Yeah, military trains are notorious for dragging equipment. You know, you're thinking of like 4,000 to 5,000 feet of flats with nothing but multiple chains on them. Something's going to drag at some point. You know, they try to like tie those chains up and wrap them up and do all these different things to keep them from coming off, but it's like, it's going to happen, right? And that's one thing I vividly remember about my what brief railroad career I had in the early 2000s. Like I said, usual disclaimer, I'm not a real life engineer. Don't know anything about it. I was a conductor for a few years in the early 2000s, but the thing that really sticks out to me more than anything for back then railroading was the fact that, like I said, the war in Afghanistan started, and man, we moved so much military equipment for one particular unit. We moved one particular, gosh, I guess it was a division. And we moved all their equipment to Jacksonville it eventually went to Blunt Island to be loaded on ships to be taken over there. But we ran like multiple military trains a day for, gosh, it seemed like a few months. Like, it was crazy how much stuff we moved, on top of having like a really super busy railroad anyway. Like, we were already really busy back then and max capacity, and then, You add on all those military trains on top of it every day, day in and day out, and it seems like, gosh, like we turn on our rest all the time. Like all the time. Extra board, stayed exhausted all the time. Turn on your rest all the time. Do you own a pool job? Get roster calls all the time. Like it was crazy. It's like and they were hiring people too. You know, by the time I left the railroad, I probably had 40 or 50 people beneath me as far as conductors. I had a stupid amount of conductors. Like I was standing for some really, really good jobs, and that's part of the reason that I wanted to leave, because it was getting close to me going to engineer school. I think they got called up to engineer school the November following after I quit, right? And I didn't want to lose all that seniority. Like I did not. I hated the thought of starting over because it was so bad. We were turning on our rest all the time. The extra boards, like it just wasn't good at all. You know, it just wasn't good. And I didn't want to lose that seniority. You know, I didn't want to go to the engineer's extra board and hang out potentially on there for years. You know, it just wasn't something that appealed to me. You know, when I left as a conductor, I stood for some really good pool jobs and stuff like that. So I stood for some assigned jobs from time to time, some good locals. So, you know, seniority on engineer's board moved a lot slower than the conductor's board. And I don't know. I got fed up with it as a whole, right? I really just did. There we go. But yeah, I'm telling you, things were hopping. Things were hopping when the war in Afghanistan started, and man, that's crazy. We moved a lot of military equipment. I got pictures of I've actually made pictures of that military train I was telling you about that we got the knuckle on down at Ambrose. CSXQ 12115's got a clear south end of Saginaw, 1923 south out. Thought we had a crossing coming up. I've got pictures of it somewhere, and I don't know where they're at. I can't find them. I hope one day I can find them. But I did make pictures on that train. So a lot of it was mostly support stuff. I don't ever remember any tanks or anything like that. What we hauled was an aviation unit for the Army. So it was a lot of support vehicles, lots and lots of fuel trucks, and you know, things like that. Construction equipment, like it was crazy all the stuff that we moved. Like you'd think, like in a division, a division in the Army has a crap ton of equipment. Man, they have a lot of stuff. It's just crazy how much stuff they have. All right, we rolling pretty good. Points was briefly 1% down there, 1.06. We'll keep rolling with it. Someone left a comment in the last video, said I'm using the wrong horn. Honestly, horns are something like, I'm not a horn guy. Even when I worked for the railroad, 99.9% of the engineers and other crews that I worked with couldn't tell you what horn was what for the most part. Like, it couldn't tell you and really just didn't care. As long as it worked and did what it was supposed to do, most people didn't care. But yeah, as far as like in game, I just pick out something that I don't mind listening to for, you know, several hours. Basically, that's the gist of it, right? It's gotta be pleasing to the ears. Gotta be something cool to listen to. Yeah, man, well, she is rolling good now, I'm telling you. Yeah, she's rolling real good. We're gonna make good time going down to Waycross, boys. I wish the bell was a little louder. The bell needs to be just like a tad louder. Just a hair, you know? Like I don't ever remember being on lead engine with the windows open and not hearing the bell. Like you could kind of hear it. right, come through Nichols. You go ahead and wipe the throttle those 2 notches. It's not gonna hurt it. We're low amps, moving high speed. She's all stretched out. She's good. This XQ1 2115's got a clear signal Nichols 9023 south out. Nice. That's a cool little location there. I think that's another spot that they've kind of added some scenery to, maybe. Kind of tweaked it just a little bit. Yeah, as far as air horns, the only air horn I can really like pick out and tell you what it is what the RS5Ts or whatever they're called. Like, I kind of know those because, like, you hear that thing, you know what it is, right? Like, there's no denying what that horn is. It's the king of all air horns. Other than that, I really don't know. Look at that hog back down, 1.22 down. Very brief. Like I said, got some really steep grades on this portion of the railroad, but it's super steep. Again, this is the DG version of railroad construction, right? They didn't move a lot of dirt. They kind of just built the track over the hills and dips and stuff. They didn't really, they didn't do a lot of grading. This was built in the late 1800s, so they didn't have like a great deal of heavy equipment to move dirt. You know, they didn't really have much of anything. I guess steam shovels didn't come around until the late 1900s. I mean, early 1900s. Oh, we got a 50 coming up. Yep, I need to remember that. Oops. CSXQ 12115's got clear north Sessoms 9023 south out. Question is, can we do it with throttle, or we have to do it with air? I think she's coming on down. Should be all right. I'll be right up here in this curve. Our grade, got a little bit of a grade up. That's helping us out. We shouldn't need to grab any air. We should just be able to go right with it. There we go. Yeah, she's doing good. Round the throttle a little bit here. Sweet, there's our 50. There's our 50 coming by Sessom Storage. Now, a cool thing about it, and a lot of people don't know this, Sessom's used to be a Y right here in this curve. And there's our 50 diamond board. So the original main line went straight. No curve, right? Straight. This was one of the legs of the Y. And it went straight to Alma, and eventually it went to Brunswick. This leg of the Y and then going to Waycross, like when this railroad was built, was actually considered a branch. It was the Waycross branch. CSXQ 12115's got a clear signal south into Sessoms 923 south out. So the Atlanta-Birmingham Atlantic originally ran from Brunswick to Birmingham. And so their main went out to Alma, went straight back there where I was telling you at, and then they had a branch that went down to Waycross. So kind of interesting. Let's count this off because we got out of that 50 diamond board back there. Yeah, this was the branch. At least if I remember correctly, I read some stuff about it a long time ago. I want to say this was the branch. Read some books about it. Because I love, like, historical railroading is where it's at. That's what I like. I love anything historical about railroading. Oh, that's a grease mat Where's our crossing? There's our crossing. We got our 50, and it'll be 60 down to Bowling, and then just south of Bowling on that Woodyard lead is going to be another 50, just a very brief 50. Then it'll be 60 for a bit into Waycross, and then it'll do like 30, and then like 30 at, oh, what is that signal called? Herbertville. It's a 30 at Herbertville, right? And then 15. It drops down to 15, I guess around Lang, right? Lang, and then it's 15. Then we'll go through town. We have to go through town. We can't go the back way, right? Because we're going to Jacksonville, so we have to go through town. It's completely different nowadays. Completely different nowadays, but we're doing it the way it was back in the day. Like this is the northbound distance to Sesame's. Ooh, this tree's a little bit close on the tracks there. They need to trim that back. Get the brush cutter out of here. There you go. All right. Let's open it up, boys. Let's go. Let's do our 60 while we can. Because I tell you, dragging this long A train through Waycross through town and on that 10, you got 10 over Plant Avenue too. I want to say track speed's 15, but when you go across, at least when you went across Plant Avenue back in the day, it was 10 mile an hour across that crossing. It wasn't a posted speed, it was in the timetable. And so that's going to take us a hot minute on this train. That's going to take us a hot minute on this one. There, someone got a slow approach back there. I don't know who's got the slow approach. That could be someone coming into Waycross. He could be coming around the South Y. We'll see. We get up here to Bowling. We'll see if we get stuck. If we get stuck, then we'll know. Look at that, up and down, up and down. Up and down. Like a roller coaster. They just gotta keep in mind that 50, if we can get by Bowling. I'm starting to think we're not going to make it by Bowling, which was true to life. Anytime you got a last siding before a terminal, a big terminal, usually that siding is where you sit and wait. You sit and wait there for a long time. And it's like, the more congested the terminal is, the further out you have to stop and wait, right? Like you go, look at the swamp water there. That's pretty accurate. The further out you have to wait. So if you're getting put in the hole and told, you know, you got to wait 3 sidings away, then you know they're super busy in the yard. Never really had that trouble at Waycross. A few times that I did go down here, and I never did go down here a lot. I did from time to time, but it wasn't like a great deal. It wasn't home to me. I like the other routes better, but honestly, I never had any trouble getting into the yard. Waycross was like the exception. It always ran really well. Is that beach? That might be beach. That intermediate down there in front of us. Yep, beach. All right, CSXQ 12115's got clear signal. Beach 9023 south out. Going at. Let's see what our time. Oh yeah, we're making good time. We might get down to Jessup a little bit for so with See how long it takes us to get into Waycross and through Waycross. All right, clear by beach. A few times you hit the alerter on this route. Doesn't happen a lot. You can tell if it's a pretty action-packed route by how much you have to hit the alerter. Either you doing something with the throttle or blowing the horn or using the air, doing something. We got some old cross ties. Looks like they did a tire replacement down here. I think this is all concrete ties, right? Yeah, it is. Concrete ties. All right, Bolandini.
Detector, milepost 606.0.
Guys, need to stay tuned with our college football 25. I've really been enjoying it. Look forward to the next videos, playing some more. Our most spectacular college football running back, Emmett Henry. See if he can have a Heisman freshman year. He's not going to have a Heisman freshman year. We're going to try to get the Heisman for us over, though I have read that it's really hard to get a Heisman on a running back for some reason. We'll see. I can tell you now, his back is already tired from carrying the team. His back. We got an approach medium. Looks like we do have an approach medium distance to bowling. Oh no, this is like real life. I didn't like this, just kind of happened the way it did. This is true to life, guys. We're going in the hole to sit and wait at bowling before you get in the yard. Man. All right. There's XQ1 2115. He's got a approach medium distance to bowling. 9023 south out. All right, yeah, this is a short block, 1.2 miles, so we definitely got to get some air. Pronto al dente. Pronto al dente, guys. Let's see what this does. Oh, we got an approach. Okay, so it's taking us down to Maine. Short block, and one of those you got to get on. You can't mess around. Like, you know, now a lot of your distance signals and stuff like that, like 2 miles away, 2.5 miles back in the day, they were short blocks. So it's best to get. Sweet. Okay, we're good on that. Best to get some air and start like bringing her down real fast. Then get into dynamics. I know everyone's all about dynamics. It's the way it's taught now, right? Like, dynamics are king, but if we'd waited, like we're in run 8 coming around to that signal, if we'd come all the way out of power and then go all the way into dynamics, we would have been all up on this signal before we'd ever like really started doing anything. All right, sweet. That worked out pretty good. Yeah, that's a tight one right there, guys. That absolutely is. I forgot how freaking tight that block was. Can't mess around. Let's go back into power. We'll drag her up there. the slack run out on the head in a little bit. I guess I should have put some little bit independent in. Oof, got that counter going too. 48,000. I didn't even know if it went that high. All right, well, either way, we'll kind of ease up here. Take a look at our train too. We hardly ever do that, right? There we go. There's our Q121. Got the 3-9s on the head end. It's the only thing that could have made it more realistic. It has AC 6000s on the head end with a -8. That would have been the perfect consist. Play around with the camera a little bit. I hardly ever use this thing. Yeah, I hardly ever mess with it, right? There, Talleyrand's in the picture there. This might be a good screenshot for us, maybe. Nice. All right, let's hop back in. Get back in the cab. We'll keep easing up here. We're just trying to get this guy time to get up here to us, right? He's just now dragging through Waycross. I saw that slow, what was it, a slow approach or approach slow or something like that. I was like, I think that's going to be a Waycross train. Yeah, we do have a stop up there. Hopefully it won't take him too long to get up here. Let's call up Otto and bug him for a second. This is all crap, not you again, man. Dispatcher's got an attitude. He got a serious attitude. So, like, what do you, like, that doesn't tell me anything. Doesn't tell me anything. Someone asked a question a while back about riding in cars to trains and stuff like that. And I've been meaning, I kind of thought about doing a video on its own about it, but I'll talk about that a little bit while we pull up here and wait. Yes, you do ride in cars through the train from time to time. Like, there's basically two different ways you could get on your train, right? You can either actually, like, physically get on it at the terminal and go about your business. Like in Manchester, the train would pull up in front of the yard office there, and one crew would get off, you would get on, and then you'd be on your way. Sometimes they would park a little ways away from the terminal, like to clear up for other trains or something. So what CSX had back in the day, I don't know what they have now, but they had a contract, a private contract company called PTI, as Professional Transportation Incorporated or something like that. I don't know, that could be wrong, but and they had a fleet of vans and drivers, and it would drive you around to your train. So like they had a PTI driver assigned to Manchester, so if you tied your train down at this place called Childs, you played the game and you had the route, you know where that's at. You would go on duty at the terminal, at the office, and then you would get in a van and they would drive you around to the signal at Childs, which is like a mile or two away, and you get on your train and go. Sometimes trains would go dead on line of road, right? Like they would use their hours up because you can only operate for 12 hours. So we might go dead at, we could go dead at Saginaw, right? So if you went dead at Saginaw, you tell the dispatcher, you're like, hey, I only got X amount of time left. You need to let him know ahead of time so he can plan. And he'd probably be like, okay, we're gonna put you in the hole. It's Saginaw, and call a van for you, call you a taxi. Okay, so you get into Saginaw, you tie your train down, and you wait for the PTI van, and they'll come pick you up and take you to Waycross the rest of the way. Sometimes you would, okay, the opposite of that is that they would call a crew on duty, and I don't know who they would call out of Waycross to rescue a dead train at Saginaw. It would have been a Fitzgerald crew back then. It could possibly be a yard job out of Waycross. I'm not sure what the limits and stuff like that are, but either way, whoever did it, they would call them on duty. They say, yeah, your train's at Saginaw tied down. It went dead. So then you would get on the van, you drive out to Saginaw, you get on your train and take it in the rest of the way. Sometimes you would deadhead. And what a deadhead is basically if they don't have enough crews at the away terminal, you may get in a van and just ride to, like, they might deadhead you to Waycross because they got more trains going north than they got going south, right? So you would just get in a van and go all the way to Waycross, which I absolutely hated that trip. It sucked so bad. Really didn't care for that. So yeah, you could deadhead, right? And then you would get on a train at Waycross. Like, you would take rest at Waycross after your deadhead, and then you would get on a train and come back. I have deadheaded to an away terminal and sat there for like 20 hours and then deadheaded right back. So I never, like, I did a whole trip and never got on a train one time. That happened from time to time. So yeah, they would reposition crews and move them around that way, you know, deadheading them and stuff like that. Sometimes you didn't always use PTI. Sometimes little private local taxi companies or taxi services would have a contract with the railroad, and it may be a long contract. Like, there was a guy up in Talladega. He had a contract with the railroad, and I want to say that dude had contract with the railroad since like the 70s or 80s, maybe. He just had like a 2-car taxi service in Talladega, and I want to say probably a large amount of his money, his income per month, was probably from the railroad. And so what he would do is anything that they needed taxi within a certain radius of Talladega, Alabama, this guy would get the call instead of PTI because he had the contract. So if you were working a local and you had to like do a lot of stuff on the ground, he might kind of stick with you there in town and drive the conductor to the head end and to the switches and stuff, you know, do that kind of stuff. Yeah, that was basically it. You know, it's just anything around Talladega that you needed to do, he had the call. And if they called PTI, if PTI got it, he would get hot. Like, he would get mad because they were infringing upon his contract. So, yeah, that's pretty cool. I did a private taxi, like just a regular old, it wasn't a yellow cab, these were red cabs, out of Atlanta one time. And I don't know what the deal was with that taxi service. I don't know if they just didn't have enough PTI vans at the time because we had so many trains going dead everywhere that maybe they just didn't have enough. But I taxied in a regular taxi sedan out of Atlanta one night. Me and my engineer, and I never forget the taxi driver looked like Osama bin Laden. Like, he really just did. And the dude probably said 2 sentences the whole trip. Didn't say a word to anyone. Like, we're trying to talk and break the ice and try to make sure that he was awake because it's in the middle of the night. All right, it's like 1 or 2 in the morning. So yeah, that was a fun trip. That's a fun trip. So that's how the taxi stuff kind of works, is from what I remember. I don't even know if PTI is around anymore. It may not be. And the thing that sucked about PTI, I remember one night we taxied on PTI and we had to go to the south end of this siding to get this train that had gone dead, and they had this little girl that was driving. She was young as hell, driving us, and she didn't know how to get there. And usually your PTI drivers, like the seasoned PTI drivers, they knew how to get everywhere. There was a few guys that drove for them that were like the gurus as far as how to get somewhere. She didn't have a clue. So I wound up calling the dispatcher, and I said, yeah, this is the recrew for whatever train. I was like, our driver doesn't know how to get to this siding. None of us know how to get there. He's like, you mean to tell me you don't know how to get there? And I was like, I know how to get there by rail. I don't know how to get there by road. And he was kind of pissy about it. And I'm like, dude, that's not my problem. You know, I don't know all the back roads in BFE to get point A to point B. You know, I get on the train and I take the train from point A to point B. So, you know, you can check your attitude with someone else. So they patched us into another PTI driver, and he told us how to get there. We had to go down a logging trail to get to the south end of this siding, and we wound up getting stuck. So the engineer and I had to get out and like jump on the bumper and like push, and finally got it. It was a hot mess. It really was. It was a hot mess. So some of the stuff, like, you have to contend with. Some of the drivers weren't that great. They weren't good drivers. They were notorious for falling asleep at night. There's been crews that have been hurt and killed on like taxi jobs like that because someone fell asleep or had a wreck or something to that effect. So yeah, taking a taxi sucked. I wasn't a huge fan of it. I really just wasn't. All right, so we're waiting on our train. I don't know who we're meeting. I guess we could peek and see just for the heck of it. Let's see, what do we got? We got the 179 behind us. That's pretty cool. 179 would have been PP Memphis to Jacksonville service with trackage rights on the BNSF. So he's making his meet at Sessoms. Who else we got? Let's see, let's keep looking here. Oh, I missed it. Where is it at? It's Nahuna. This is Waycross. Here we go. It's gonna be the 120. What are the odds of that, guys? Like, what are the odds? I don't remember setting this train up. This is a really old build. I don't remember setting this up. Maybe this is an auto spawn, but I didn't know it auto spawn. I thought it did like the QO25s and QO26s. So this is a 120. He's just by the Jamestown holdout, so he should be up here pretty quick. Nice, Q120. Trying to think of any other questions that we can answer while I'm sitting here waiting. I said we talked about the taxi cabs, taxiing. Anything else? I think that's about it. Yeah, deadheading sucked too. And it really sucked to deadhead down and then deadhead right back. Like that sucked too. Especially when you like waste your time in a motel for a day or two, you know. I think the longest away time I ever had was 27 hours. And that's part of like what really aggravated me with the railroad towards the end. I was a newlywed. I got married when I started for the railroad. And it was really aggravating to get called on your rest every single day when you're at home, and then go to the motel and lay over for, you know, 25 hours, 27 hours. You know, it got to the point where like Mrs. Spur would come stay with me at the motel at the away terminal because we had more time there than we did at home. And I'm telling you, we got called on our rest for months and months and months on end until the slowdown, like in after Christmas in January and February. You know, then it kind of slacked up a little bit, but otherwise, you know, you turned on your rest all the time. When you're on a pool job, there were no days off. There were no assigned days off. You just ran until you marked off sick. If you wanted some time off, you could mark off sick. If you marked off during a reasonable time, they wouldn't say anything. You know, if you marked off every weekend, you were going to get a letter. I used to mark off like on a Wednesday. Tuesday, you know, Wednesday, a Tuesday, something like that. Get through the weekend, get through the busy part of the week, and then mark off about every other week, I think is what I did. Because, I mean, you know, you would go home and I always claim 10 hours undisturbed. Well, I mean, 10 hours isn't much. You know, 10 hours isn't much at all. And you can guarantee you they're going to be calling you at 10 hours and 1 minute, you know. So, I mean, if you go home and sleep for 7 hours and maybe you're up for an hour after you got home and then you sleep for 7. So there's not like a whole heck of a lot of time, you know, and by the time you eat and shower and shave and do all the things, you know, it just wasn't a lot of time. And that was pretty much the norm, right? Getting called on your rest all the time. Really, like when the pool was moving the right way, when it was turning right, you should get more time home than just like, they shouldn't be calling you on your rest all the time. But at that time, it just didn't work out that way. All right, let's hop down. Let's hop down. I've done this a few times in real life, and I used to love walking up and down this dirt road. I'd walk all the way down to the signal, all the way back. You know, just kind of stretch your legs. Check out Mother Nature. Out here, this is pretty accurate with the sand and stuff. It's very sandy down here. They just walk down the dirt road and wait. I'm glad they added the ambient sounds. That's a nice touch. I don't ever remember sitting in a hole here at Bowling Old. I don't ever remember taking the 121 South, period. The Waycross. I got the 120. I absolutely remember the 120. But I don't remember the 121. And it wasn't long after I started when they started that long pool. So then it was kind of taken off the board, right? You didn't have a chance to get it unless you stood for the job. Also, another little side note, I was never remote qualified. I was the last group of conductors hired on CSX that wasn't forced to qualify on remote control. So I knew nothing about remote control, never touched them, never had anything to do with them. The group that was hired after us, actually, they started having to train and qualify on remotes, but we never did that. So it was something I never fooled with. All right, let's see what our 120 looks like. He is 6,400 feet, 1.8 HPT. Yeah, that's pretty reasonable, honestly. All right, we'll head back the other way. Continue to stretch our legs. All right, there she is. There's a 120. She's working her way up here. Nice. I'm curious to see what she looks like, because I don't remember building this train. I want to say it's an auto spawn. I want to say this is an auto spawn. I'm not, don't quote me on that. We'll see what she looks like. So this would be, honestly, like, this would be kind of the right time for that too, because I want to say 120 pulled out of Manchester about 8 to 10 o'clock at night. Back in the day, way back in the day. Maybe around 8 to 10 at night. Something like that. She may have, you know, 6 hours ahead of her, so, and it supports you. So yeah, that's kind of, that's about right. That's about right, or at least close enough. Looks like she's all single stacks. Yeah, 2 units and all single stacks, maybe? That's kind of odd. Yeah, I think this is a random generated train. The auto generated stuff, I'm not, like, I've never been a huge fan of. I've never been a huge fan of the auto generated stuff because sometimes it lacks the character that the actual trains have. And there are certain trains that you could look at and see by their makeup, like what kind of cars they had on and stuff, and know exactly what train that was. This is 122 units on the head end. Nice. You could look at it and you would know. You would know what it was, right? If you saw a train with a whole bunch of a slot freight with like a bunch of BNSF or BNs, we call them BNs on the head end, Santa Fe cars, and then it had a cut of molten sulfur tanks behind it, empty molten sulfur tanks, and then you knew that was 592. Like, they're beyond a shadow of a doubt, that's 592. If you saw a slot freight with a whole bunch of auto racks and a lot of phosphate cars and stuff like that, more than likely, it's a little bit more generic, but more likely that could be a 684, you know, especially if it had phosphate towards the bottom of the train. This is all single level stacks. What are some other ones? You saw a train that had UP power on it and it was really short and had a lot of like Western cars on it, that could be like a 682. So yeah, sometimes you could kind of look at them and tell. You could have a little bit of an idea. That's interesting. They got it all single stack. There's no clearance problem. There's like no clearance restrictions. So it shouldn't be nothing but single stacks. Like, that doesn't make sense. That this is absolutely auto-generated train. I wish auto, like, the way I would like to see it done is like create my own 120s and have like 3 or 4 different 120s in different setups. And then when auto says, hey, I need to auto generate a 120, I'm going to pick from this pool of trains, you know, and use one of those. Looks like he's about to clear up. No, you still got a little bit. This almost reminds me of like, where those Philadelphia trains that used to run single level back in the day. I guess they still do. This is 174, 176 or something like that. It's Baltimore or Philadelphia. There was some kind of tunnel or something up there that... Hey, he's about to clear up. Go ahead and walk back to the head end here. We done stretching our legs. That is so cool. Yeah, if you go have a bad trip in Waycross, bowling's where it's going to get you at. There's no doubt about that. Like, they'll get you over the road fast as hell, and then you'll sit forever bowling if you have a bad trip. All right, 120 train looks good. Marker's hanging. There we go. Got our light. Let's get out here, guys. Sweet. I should have knocked the big brake off. There's no point in hanging on to that. As flat as it is right here, we should knock that off, let it be recharging, and just hold it with the independent. I was stretching to slack out because she's going to be all bunched up. Thing about pigs, got tons and tons of slack in it. Especially a 9,000 foot long pig. Yeah, we still haven't moved the bottom yet. We've been rolling for a bit here. There we go. Now she's going. Now she rolling. CSXQ 121's got to clear south end of Bowling. 9023 south out. All right, well, let's get out of here. Let's head towards Waycross and then Jacksonville. We got a little, yeah, this is going to be a little bit of a longer video because I definitely want to get through Waycross on this video. Next video, we get the Moncrief, and then the next video, we yard the train. I think that'll work out perfect for us, for what we need to do. Yeah, I gotta get this trip done, get in some more college football action today. And some more, I'm gonna do some more DCS too. Kind of enjoyed DCS. Even labeled this bridge here is going to be US 1. Yeah, I absolutely hated deadheading to Waycross. It sucks so bad. It really just did. There, we got our 50 up here, so we may as well just do 50. He's gonna be up here on his switch. I think that was a wood yard back in the day. That's interesting. I got this slow order just on this switch, and now it's true to life. It's in my timetable. I don't know why they had that. There's our resume speed. Now you all. All right, next speed restriction be the 30 at Herbertville, right? 30 at Herbertville, then 15 around Lang. 15 all the way through Waycross, 10 over Plant Avenue. We'll have that restricting down around to South Waycross. Yeah, the old way through Waycross is a little complicated back in the day. Of course, nowadays, if you're familiar with the railroad, it's a diamond. It's like double main through there, diamond. Just to the east of the yard. I know people have asked if they're going to do the diamond, stuff like that, if High Rail is going to do the diamond. Yeah, I look at it this way. That diamond was to increase capacity and make it easier to run trains. There's nothing interesting about easy. You know, Spur likes complicated. Complicated keeps it interesting. Easy makes it a breeze. Man, that's a short block too. So yeah, I prefer the old way. I think it's a lot more operationally challenged. I think it's more challenging for the dispatcher, more of an operational headache. The whole reason they add in double track and longer sidings and stuff like that is to make it operationally easy, or easier. TSX Q1 2115 has got clear by Haywood 9023 south out. So the note says call A tower southbound, and you would. Generally, I waited a little bit closer because sometimes the radio reception is a little spotty right here. There we go. Just timed out perfect. Yeah, sometimes I wait a little bit. Clear out that counter. All right, as flat as a pancake here, you think a radio reception would be fine, but yeah, it could depend on, I guess, the locomotive, the radio and the locomotive. Sometimes it'd be spotty back there. Either way, we gotta call them before we go by the schoolhouse road crossing, because that's the whole point. It didn't matter if you had a clear signal, if you had a clear at Jamestown holdout, it did not matter. If A Tower did not tell you to come on the Waycross, you did not go by that crossing. And that was like that at every terminal I worked. In Atlanta, it was Chapel Road. You did not go by Chapel Road unless they told you to come by Chapel Road. It didn't matter if you had clears. If in Birmingham it was Green Springs Road, it did not matter if you had clears. You did not go by Green Springs Road until mainline yardmaster told you to come by there. So if I can remember how this went down back in the day, like it's been 20 years, guys, so 20 years. So you would go DSXQ 121, call it railyard A Tower, and then they'd come back railyard A Tower, 121 going to Waycross or something like that. I'm not sure how 121 would do it because it was a run-through train. Like every train I took down here was the end of the trip for me, whether we went in the yard or we recruited at the ice house. So I don't know how like a train that just runs through would work, but you'd absolutely have to call A Tower, I would think. You'd call them and let them know, and they would probably say come on the Waycross or something like that, maybe. All right, Johnny Manchu Road, one of my favorite spots outside of Waycross. I don't know why, it just is. So yeah, call them up, let them know. A little bit of a tricky spot here because it's sag there. It's a big broad sag that you got to climb out of. Oh, we got a 50 coming up. I totally forgot about that 50. That's right. There's a 50 up here in the curve around the river, right? I think so. Let's throttle out of that sag a little bit. And if I remember, I'm trying to remember how we call them. Coming into the yard, and maybe we'd tell them our train stats and our EOT number or something like that. And I don't think they would give you a whole lot of yarding instructions on the initial call. I think they would just like tell you come on, and then They might give you the Thomasville main and then tell you to call them again a little closer. JSX Q12115's got clear distance to Jamestown holdout. 923 south out. There, we got our 50 coming up. Let's get some air. I may have waited on that a little bit too long. Feel the bell. So we got to go down. We're dropping down into the Satilla River. Yeah, it's okay. We did all right. I didn't hang on to it quite long enough. Hopefully we won't wind up with stuck brakes. We can peek and see. We can cheat. She seems to be okay so far. All right, I think our 50 is right up here. Yep. Yeah, I totally forgot about this one. I totally forgot this one. There's our 50 diamond ward. There's our resume speed. We're not going to be able to do 60 at this point though. Like, we're about to be slowing down for that 30 up here. It's always a cool stretch. I love going, especially northbound, sitting there waving at the cars. Sometimes they kind of drive alongside you. Alright, so as far as I know what Rice Yard A Tower would be like, come on to Waycross, so we could adhere to the signals in. Alright, we could go by Schoolhouse Road crossing. It's gonna be right up here. I think it's on the other side of the Jamestown holdout. It's a nice stretch through here, though. I really like it. And I guess it's got some really extreme hog backs through here. It's got some nice houses off to the side. I like the outskirts of Waycross. Alright, there's Jamestown. Hold out, got it clear. DSX Q12115's got it clear. Jamestown hold out, 923 south out. She kind of dragging down through here a little bit. Let's make sure we don't have any stuck brakes. Yeah, we do have stuck brakes on the bottom. We sure do. We sure do. I did let the air draw down enough. That was my bad. But in reality, we'd have no clue. Like, we have the luxury of looking on here and seeing, but in reality, we'd have no clue unless you look back and you could see them, which wouldn't be a thing because these are towards the bottom. And You wouldn't, like, it's towards the bottom, so it's too far back. 9,000 feet is too far back. We'd never be able to see that. So the only way we could ever know is if someone told us. I never got popped by a DD with stuck brakes. Never. It was never a thing. All right, let's grab some air. This thing with these long A trains is waiting for the air to come down on the bottom. But we should be able to get it straightened out with this. All right, there you go. It says Schoolhouse Crossing, Whole Point. This is the road crossing you could not go by. It didn't matter if you had a clear Jamestown holdout. We're going to hang on to them for a little bit. Like I said, technically we don't know we have stuck brakes. We're just getting a 10-pound set to slow down for this 30 up here. We'll see what this does. We got our 15 up here in 1.6. We got approach slow. ZSXQ 12115's got approach slow at Herbertville. 923 south out. There's our 30 diamond board right here. There's our approach slow. We'll take a peek at our brakes in a second just to see what it looks like. Yeah, I've literally drug cars in real life with stuck brakes till the wheels turned blue, and we never got popped by a DD. I don't know how that didn't happen, but it did. All right, let's see what they look like. Nope, they drove. They're stuck tighter now. Oh man, yeah, we'd have to get like 15 or so to get that to knock off. We sure would. Those are stuck good. Could be a bad triple valve. We haven't run into that problem, but it could be a bad triple valve. We're just going to ignore them. Like I said, we don't know they're back there. And by the time I save and reload the game for the next video, it'll be resolved. It'd be cool if trains you met, right? If you met AI trains and they are like, hey, you got stuck brakes, like they could tell you. You know, which is something that could happen in real life if you met someone. Not everyone would catch it. Not everyone would catch it. The time I had really bad stuck brakes on a train, we went by like multiple maintenance away crews and trains, and no one caught it. No defect detectors, no trains, no one spotted it until we made our very last meet before we got in the terminal, and those guys caught it, and they told us to stop immediately. They said, you have a bad set of stuck brakes. And so it was almost on the bottom of the train. And I walked back there, and it was a tight handbrake. I don't know who put the handbrake on. Like, it was like 60 cars deep. I think it had that handbrake on it for a long time. I really do. I think it did. But by the time I got back there to it, I was like probably maybe 10 feet away from the car, if a little closer, and I could literally feel the heat coming off the wheels. The wheels had turned blue. The brakes had ground down all the way to bare metal, and it was like, the best way I could describe it, it was like a giant lathe. Like the brake shoes were, I guess they were worn down to the metal part. And it was like someone stuck a lathe to the wheel tread, and it had these big curls of metal coming off of the wheels and like all tangled up in the brake wheels and stuff, and just it was like a mess. Like the wheel treads had an indent in them where the brake, like it had worn into the treads, and they had literally turned blue, and I could feel the heat coming off of them a little ways away, like not right up on them, but. And like I said, we never got popped by a DD on that. I don't know how that happened. I don't know why or how a DD could differentiate hot bearings but not hot wheels. It didn't make sense to me how that happened. But all right, there's our 15. That was a big deal too. We didn't get any trouble or anything, or there was nothing we could have done. Like, we had no clue. Nothing was ever said to us, but when it was all said and done, we caused about, I want to say about 6 or 8 trains to go dead because of that. Because of that. Like, we were really, like, we had 30 minutes left on our time. They were trying to get us through the double main. And, there's a fleet of trains behind us. We were the head end of a fleet of about 4 or 5 trains, and there was some going south. And because we only had 30 minutes left, we couldn't do it. Like, we went dead on the spot. Where I stopped to check that car, we went dead on the spot. They wound up sending a yard job out there to get the train. They had to take it back to the yard at like 5 mile an hour. Because of that one car with the bad wheels, like all the wheels were bad on it, and they had to take it and set it out, and like everyone went dead. Like, it completely jacked the entire north end of that railroad up in just one blink of an eye. Like, it was crazy. CSX Q1 2115's got slow approach, laying to the new way. Or laying to, let's see, what was it? Through town. Laying through town. 923 south out. Not the new way. I don't know why I was thinking the old way. So it's through town and the back way. The other way would have been the back way. That's how you'd go to the yard. Oh, it's going to take us a hot minute to get through here, guys. Yeah, this is going to be a long video. Hopefully y'all enjoy it. It seems like y'all are. I appreciate it. It's been getting a lot of video, or a lot of views on these Run 8 videos. So I do appreciate it. We're coming up on the yard down here. I wonder how many rail units. Yeah, total units in the world, 4,325. How many train simulators you see do that? I dare say none. I dare say none. I'd like to see several hundred rail cars in a world on Train Sim World. I don't know what that sim would do. I don't know what it would do. See those stuck brakes are doing, but they're still, yeah, they're still hanging on back there. Yep, and like I said, it'll self-resolve. That was totally my bad. Long train, I didn't let the air come down enough before I released them. It could be a bad triple valve, which would make it a little bit more prone to that. Like, I've had some trains in game, it's like every time you touch the air, I don't care if you get 10 or 15 pounds, like they're going to be stuck. It's just a bad triple valve. You got to cut it out and bleed it, but alright, gotta get ready for our 10 over Plant Avenue. It's not posted. It says it's 15, but if you go through the old timetables, it'll say 10 across Plant Avenue. On top of that, we are running on a slow approach, so we could, like, we're kind of banking on having a light there. We may not have a light, you know. What do we got? I can't tell. Slow approach. CSX Q12115 has got a slow approach. Plant Avenue, 1923 south out. Welcome to Waycross. Alright, let's ease all this slack out. We got her all bunched up. Oh, this train's going so uptown so bad, being 9,000 feet long, man. Yeah, she is. She will do that. No slow approach. And if you guys, I don't know if you've noticed, but in the last update, the most recent update, we got the Waycross Depot. And the railway express building just beyond it there. So yeah, this is Waycross Depot. Back in the day, it was division headquarters. It hadn't been division headquarters for a long time. It's like, I want to say it's like city offices or something in there. But that's pretty cool. That's pretty nice. And then the Railway Express Agency, the REA building here. Very cool. Now we got across Plant Avenue, we can do 15. And then right here, this little building here, it's not exactly like it in real life or the way it was, but that was a place called the Ice House. And if you were on a through train through Waycross from the Fitz to the Jessup, this is where you would swap out. This is where you change crews. So you see they got someone down there. All right, it's pretty close, pretty close. Not exact, but it's pretty close. I can't remember, what was that signal called? Jenkins Street, right? Yeah. CSX Q121 15's got a slow approach at Jenkins Street, 9023 south out. And there we go. They got restricting. CSX Q12115's got a restricting south Y. 9023 south out. This keeps you on your toes through here. It's a lot of looking out. All right, so we get up here, we merge onto J1. So the three tracks, J1, 2, and 3, right? I think that's what they were. If you were a southbound freight train coming off the Fitz and they wanted to back you into the yard, which is something that they could absolutely do, especially back in the day. Probably not so much now because trains are so much longer with PSR, but back in the day when we had short trains, like 4,000 or 5,000 feet long, it was nothing to back into the yard. So they would tell you they're going to take you through town, take you down J1 and back you into the receiving yard. They tell you what receiving track you would back in. So if they say taking you through town and you're on a slot freight, you knew you were backing in, which sucked. I wasn't a fan of backing in because you had to ride the bottom and there's like 50 bazillion tracks and you're like, I hope I'm lying the right way because I don't know. Like, here's Sweat Street. This is a whole point for northbound trains out of Jacksonville coming up to Jessup. Let's see where our bottom's at, just for the heck of it. Oh, yeah. Yeah, oh, yeah. Oh, yeah, we're not even nowhere near close to downtown with the bottom of our train there. That is crazy, man. As you see, we've got the whole town sewed up. There's our head in right there. There's our head in right there. And there's our bottom. Look at that. We just now cleared Lang. Here's Lang coming in the old way. That's Lang. There's Yard over there. Yeah. We sewed up the entire town. Yeah, before we get too fast. We don't need to get all crazy with it. All right, we'll go a little bit further and we'll end it. I don't want to end hanging out across all these junctions and stuff. Yeah, I don't think that would bode well for us. I didn't count off our resume speed back there. It'll take us a hot minute to get through that anyway. Yeah, there's South Waycross. Waycross railyard, one of the newer hump yards, has been built during that boom of high-tech hump yards that they built in the 70s, right? Railyard's one of them. They built a hump yard at Barstow in the 70s, West Colton in the 70s. I'm sure there's probably more too. Before it was a hump, Waycross was a big flat yard. Basically there where the receiving yard, the receiving yard was the flat yard, the old flat yard, old flat switching yard. And they just lengthened it and turned it into the receiving yard. But that was the OG yard. And then all that to the west of the receiving yard is that's the new stuff. The bowl, the forwarding yards, service center, all that stuff, all new. I want to say I saw a Danny Harmon video where he was talking about the ramp at Duval, and that was one of the potential locations for the hump yard. They thought about building it down there, and it was also, I want to say, they looked at building it around Manchester too, but they opted for Waycross. I don't see how they could have built like a major hump yard around Manchester. It's too rugged and mountainous. Like that would have been stupid expensive. You know, Waycross is a pretty good location because it's so flat here. Like they really didn't, like if you look at the old construction photos of Rice Yard, and there's some out there floating around. There's someone made some pictures on the hump when they're grading the bowl, and they moved like very little dirt. Like they moved in dirt to make the hump, but everything else was pretty much just knock the grass off and lay tracks. There's very little excavation down there. I'm sure Duval would have been the same way. Like there wouldn't have been any excavation down there, but further north, that would have been a lot of work. There we go. Yeah, that's right. J1, J2, and J3. The locals notorious for backing into the yard because locals usually don't have a lot of cars. So they back you in the yard, you cut your power off, take it to the house. Take your EOT off. I want to say they call J3 a freight lead too, maybe? Not sure on that. This XQ 12115 has got clear single south Waycross. 9023 south out. Just a little over halfway through. Yeah, sign back there said begin TCS. I think TCS is what, traffic control system or something like that. Yeah, if you look through some of like the super old timetables, I want to say all this that we're on now, this signal used to be just yard limits back in the day. It wasn't signal at all. That's why the signal system's kind of janky the way it is in game. It's changed up. It's changed up a lot through there over the years. All right, there we go. We got our 70. All right, guys, that's going to do it for this one. I hope y'all enjoyed. Like I said, we probably got, I would think, 2 more videos before we finish this series up. It's been a long series, one of the longer series that we've done. If you did enjoy, be sure to hit that like, subscribe, leave me a comment down below. Let me know what you think. Love all of you, and we'll catch you next time. Peace. No, big cat, no. Stop. Oh, no. No, 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 kitty. Oh, that's a MiG. That's a MiG over us. Okay. It's the weirdest day ever. Oh, no. He just fell. He just